Hey everybody, welcome to the Roost Podcast. I am your host, Sean Pitcher. Today's guest we have on is Tyler Booker, aka T-Book. He is a Division I football player. Really excited to have him on. One of the main reasons why I brought him on as an athlete is not only on this podcast, so I want to get the voice out of the variety of different practitioners that help support the athlete, but I also want to give athletes a chance to also speak on how having a team around them plays an important role to allow them to be able to obviously stay healthy, stay on the field, and also progress their patterns, skills, and development. So that way it's not only helping them during the time as an athlete, but also is helping develop those skills for long-term as well after the career is over. But T-Book, appreciate you taking the time today to come on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm glad to be on. I'm glad to give my input.
All right. So first question I always start with, could you please tell the audience what is Tyler Booker's roots? Where do you come from?
So my roots are set down here in New Haven, Connecticut. Up here in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm so used to being in Alabama. Up here in New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah, my roots are just my family just being football fanatics. You know, my uncle played. He went to Michigan State. He was on the practice squad for the Steelers, and that translated to my dad being obsessed with the game of football. So ever since I can remember, I was watching football with my dad, with my family. We just kind of obsessed over the sport, and that's what brought us together. And I saw how happy it made my dad and made my family. So I was like, you know what? I love the sport, and I want to go do this. So that's when I started playing. But ever since I started playing, I had a different type of focus to me, even from a 9-year-old. Like when I was 9, that's when I knew I was like, okay, football's for me. Like this is what I want to do with my life. This is what's gonna drive me. This was gonna open doors for me. I knew since that young, and from me going to middle school, hour and a half away, spending my freshman year in New Jersey, to me spending the rest of my high school years in Florida, it's just I've always remembered my why, and I always remembered why I'm doing this, and so I just always had a next level focus about me and carried myself in the way that I have goals and I'm gonna achieve them, and I'm gonna speak them into the air, but I'm also gonna work for them at the same time.
And I could tell, I mean, the first time I met you, 15, 16 years old, right? We got the chance to work together, for 3 years of your career in high school. And, you just know it when someone walks in the room, whether it's the weight room, walks on the field, how they communicate with staff, especially at your age, just like the focus and dedication that you had. And obviously, like, I'm not saying it's just you, there was several other players as well, but you were one of those individuals that definitely, when I first met, stood out. I was like, this guy's mature at a very young age. And like the fact that he's this mature at this young and this kind of like locked in already is definitely going to have some huge promise. So I would assume then that locked in and focus and dedication when I first met you, is that then just attributing from, it sounds like the overall support that you've had from your family as a whole. And then it sounds like the experience that your family member had there with football would you say those were the key factors that put you in that mindset? Or was it your environment that put you in that mindset? Kind of like what got you to that point?
Yeah, the key factors were definitely my family definitely attributed to that, but not to be selfish and not to just keep it all about me, but I feel like that's just a decision that I made in my head from being 9 years old and realizing how I dominated the game of football and how much fun I had and how happy I saw my family after I performed that way. So them just keeping me focused, getting me to the workouts, getting me to the games, getting me to the film sessions, all of that helped me keep my focus in. I was locked in. I joke often and I say I was a one trick pony. A lot of kids played other sports. I did track and field for about a season and a half, but I always knew I wanted to play football. I wanted to play at the highest level. And when I told my parents that, they were like, "Okay, we're gonna help you get there. Whatever are you sure you want to do this? Because we're gonna give it our all. Like we're gonna go to every workout. We're gonna go to every football camp. We're gonna go to whichever school is gonna help you get to where you want to get to." So they were just as invested as I was. So having that support from them, I wouldn't have been able to do that without them. And them also allowing me and trusting me to go to IMG as a I made that decision as a 14-year-old. It was a life changing decision. And I'm glad I made it. But that was a lot for my parents to watch their oldest son go all the way down to Florida and them being in Connecticut. So they missed out on a lot. But I feel like they also made up for a lot. I come to all the games and their support over the phone in person whenever they came down to surprise me. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Yeah, it's always tough when, you have that talent, you have the opportunity, and then, you see your parents are now starting to invest in you, and you're like, man, these guys are spending a lot of time. And like at the end of the day, like if they're going to invest as much time in me, like I can't put myself in a position where I'm slacking and not giving my all. Because if they've got me to this point, like I got to be able to. We're not trying to give back favors or give back anything to our parents, but it's like a two-way street, right? With any
Exactly. The
relationship
gratitude.
that you have with whoever that person may be, a coach, a practitioner, your family member, like if they're giving you all that effort for, let's say, the 14, 15 years of your life, you're like, well, I got to put some effort in now because they set me up in a good situation to be able to kind of excel from there. And like you said, too, it's tough, right? When you're sending your child off 14, 15, 16 years old, you don't have control of anything that they do. You don't know what's going on. Like, are they going to be safe? Like that's a huge commitment and a huge position you put yourself into. Hopefully you're trusting that those staff members around you to hopefully put your son, or obviously we have female sports there too, but your daughter in the right place to be able to succeed is a tough decision for parents. And once I wanted to bring up the story because sometimes, when people ask me like, oh, Tyler Booker, I was like, yeah, he's a different cat. And I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the last thing you told me, our last away game trip at the hotel?
Our last away game trip, that was the Auburn game, right?
Yes. It was the next morning after the game. If
What
not,
I say?
so usually what I always did, right? Like I went downstairs really early, made sure breakfast was set for y'all, snacks were out, fluids were out, all that type of stuff. Cause I wanted you guys to obviously walk in and like not have to worry about nothing. Like everything was set. You can grab and get what you need. I remember I
Mm-hmm.
walked in that morning and you were already sitting at a table and you already had gotten breakfast. And I was like, oh, T-Book, like you're up pretty early. I thought you would like everybody else, right? Most guys would sometimes sleep past breakfast or they get to breakfast at the very end. And I came down and sat down with you. And the first thing you said, he's like, they don't get it yet. He's like, they don't get it yet. Like, I want to be a pro. Like, I want to be a high level player. He's like, and if that means I got to get up and I got to come and eat breakfast and I got to recover from what I did the day before, like, that's what I'm going to do. And unfortunate, they haven't figured that out yet, but that's what I know needs to be done. And like, that's how I'm going to carry myself going forward. And as soon as you said that, I was like, all right, whatever he does beyond this, like just that statement right there, I'm like, he's going to be straight at the end of the day. Um, One of the things I know we talked a little bit offline is just, can you give us an idea what goes into being a Division I football player? Like, what does a day look like for you on a regular basis?
So I'll give you a Monday Tuesday, because I think that's our hardest day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday or Wednesday. So, well, I'll give you off season day first. So wake up at 6:30. No, I wake up at 6. Nah, probably like 5:45. 5:45, 6 o'clock, wake up anywhere in between there. Go lift at 6:30. After that, I go straight to I pick up my shake. They put creatine and glutamine in there. Then I go to breakfast. I always have time to take a nap before class, and naps are crucial for me before class. I take a nap before class, head to class. Then I go to the facility. I eat lunch. After lunch, I take another nap, about 15, 20 minutes. Then I get in the cold tub, then a hot tub. Then I contrast. I do 5 minutes in each 4 times. After I do that, I dry off, I roll out, and then I go over my plays and I go over the practice before. Um, and then I obviously go to practice. After practice, I'm in the hot and cold tubs, pretty much the same routine. Then after that, I go home, watch the film, do homework, and if I have tutoring, I go to tutoring. But that was just a short of it. That was
Yeah.
just
So, and I wanted you to say that because I think some people that, whether it's media, whether it's they're sitting at the game, whether it's they're watching you on TV, right? Like they're real quick to criticize an athlete. They're real quick to say athlete's not doing a great job. He had a bad game. He doesn't look great today, or like the team's having a bad season. But little do some know, if they haven't been an athlete before, like what actually goes behind the scenes that you have to do on a day in, day out basis from a schedule, a routine. Sometimes it's monotonous every single day. It's the same, but it's like, do you want to be good enough and do you love the process enough to be able to have the mindset to do that day in and day out? And I don't think some people,
Exactly.
because you said if I get up at 5:45, 6 o'clock, I'm assuming you probably don't go to bed till like probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And between that whole time frame, you're doing something or moving and transitioning to something.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, you're always moving, and if you're not, if you're walking wrong, that's what we say on the field. But I kind of apply it to my life. Like, if you're walking, if you have too much free time, you're wrong. You should either be studying your playbook, getting some more recovery in, studying for school, going to tutoring. Like, if you're walking, you're wrong. There's always something that you can be doing, but you also have to make sure you set up time for you to like chill and relax too.
Yeah,
But you just have to stay. You have to stay disciplined with that time, and when you allow yourself to have that time, and you have to be disciplined and know yourself to know when you need a break, and then know when you like, man, I'm good. I can put some more work in.
when to dissociate the two, or when to, like, you just have to have time to yourself.
Yeah,
Because sometimes like that process can consume some people, mentally, physically, because it's breaking your body down. So it comes to the point, it's just like, is it I need 30 minutes to myself? Do I need an hour to myself? Some guys are like, well, I actually need a full 2 hours. Like, I'm sure you could probably attest, like everyone's probably a little bit different of how much of that like self-care and self-time that they need, just so they can be straight and ready for the next day and facing the same thing again.
hmm that's why those naps are so crucial for me. Like, I take a nap right after the live because it'll let me get my mind right. It sometimes I don't even go to sleep. It's probably most of the time it's just a meditation, just me sitting there with my eyes closed, thinking about what I have to do for the rest of the day. And then that nap before practice, which is kind of a meditation as well, that's me thinking about my assignment. What did I do last practice? What I do? What do I need to do today? Um, it just gives me time to myself to gather my thoughts and figure out what I need to do to continue to be a pro, to get better.
One, you're probably also feeling refreshed. I like what you said there. Like, I take a 15, 30-minute nap. You're not like what I've heard from some guys, like, oh, I'm taking a 4 hour nap, and then their sleep schedule's all messed up. And then like they're
About to
going to bed
say
at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something crazy like that. But it's cool that you're, with the meditation, visualization, you're probably then getting into practice or even getting into a lift, or even the game. And you've already probably thought through the playbooks, the plays, what you're already going to do. And then it just becomes like, you're not,
you just go out there and do it.
yeah, you're not slowed down. Like, you can just go.
That was the biggest thing for me as well. So last spring, I did all right for an incoming freshman, but once I got to fall camp, I was a lot better just because I knew what I was doing and I didn't have to go slow. I could just go, go, go. And when you could play fast, that's when you play fast, that's when the game slows down. You're able to pick up on things that the defense does. So having a whole season under my belt, I'm just excited to see how far camp goes.
Because when you're just sitting there and solely thinking about like, oh, what's my assignment? How am I going to step? Like, what do I got to do next? It's like, all right, now you're just filling up your mind with like 7 steps. And it's like, now I'm going to slow myself down. I can't actually like look out what's going on in front of you. Like, what's the line look like? What are the linebackers doing? Like, and you can't actually read the field and read the people in front of you like you'd want to, because you're too worried about what you need to do physically and then mentally, internally, to get from point A to point B.
Exactly.
I know one thing you said you were really passionate about was, talking about the mental game, the
Mhm.
preparing for, the rigors of a season, which practice, lift, film, obviously getting your meals in. Can you speak about that, or speak about why you're really passionate about having your mental in the right place day in and day out?
I'm really passionate about that because you can take yourself so much further than your body can go. And in order to do so, your mental has to be right. You have to know in your head like why you're doing what you're doing, like your why. You have to know how you're gonna accomplish your why and what what's gonna help you get there and what's preventing you from getting there. So just being self-aware is so important within that process, and just mentally being prepared for everything that's going to be thrown at you. Because being a Division One football, there's a lot that goes on. Division One football player, there's a lot that goes on with school, with sometimes the lineup isn't going your way. You feel like coaches on your side, so you just have to be mentally strong to go through whatever the season throws at you. And you have to make sure that your mind is set up to a spot to where I know, okay, I need less of this and more of this, and I need more of this and less of this, vice versa. And then with that, with the mental comes the support staff, and you just need people to talk to, whether it's your family, people that work at your school, a friend. You just always need people to talk to because it gets rough and having all that stuff pent up. That's not going to help you at the end of the day. So if any Division One football player is listening, you just find somebody to talk to when it gets rough because you're going to go through those days when it's like, man, is this really for me? Like, did I choose the right school? Because I'm not gonna lie, I've had those thoughts, but after I got through those moments, after I talked to my people, I realized, yeah, I did. I was just in one of those moods. I just had a rough day, but you just gotta go on and move past it. And then the other thing is like Rome wasn't built in a day. Take everything one day at a time. Win each day. Make sure you accomplish everything in this day that you need to accomplish, and then you can look forward to the next day because when you're thinking, you have the mindset of, oh, I want to be a starter. You don't know if you're going to start or not until sep- September, and you got here in January. What do I need to do to become a starter? And how do I do that day by day? That's what's going to help you become a starter in September. So you just need to focus on what you're doing each day.
And you never know
Take
when
everything one day at a time.
you never know when you're going to get plucked, right? Like you can start one week, maybe it didn't go great. Coach made a decision, put in somebody else. How are you going to react to that? Like, are you going to be in a negative mindset? Are you going to beat yourself up? Are you going to blame others? Or is it going to become, all right, what did I not do last week that I can improve upon? And if I improve upon these, is that going to give me another chance when I do get the chance to go back on the field? Then I put myself in a position where I can hopefully cement myself there and then not have to move or not have to be displaced by somebody else. Because I'm sure you can attest at the level you're at. Like they're always going to bring in somebody, and there's always a chance that someone's coming for your position to take it from you. So it's like if you don't have the mentality to like want to be a starter and do all the things necessary to be a starter, any given day that can probably be just vanish.
Yeah, like you just said, is they're looking to replace you. College football is a sick game. So in the off season, I love recruiting because I like getting to know new people. I like getting to see where people's mindset are as a high school football player and see if they would be a fit for Alabama. So I love recruiting. Whenever they ask me to recruit, I'm like, yeah, like for sure. Who is he? What do you want me to do with him? Like I love recruiting because that's also going to help me make my team better.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, if you really think about it, like I'm getting my replacement to come here. And I feel like it's also another way to be like, yeah, you're replaceable. Like he's here to replace you. You're bringing him here to replace you. So that makes you stay on the top of your game, and that's where that the good kind of peer pressure comes in because nobody wants to be here and not play. So everybody's working together and work on getting each other better so they can play, so they can see the field. Obviously, not everybody's going to play, but the guys that aren't playing, they're going to give their own scout team so they can get on the ones and twos field. So then they could see the field. So it's just everybody wanting to get better.
And it's not
That
going to
those are guys that you want to bring in.
it's not going to stop either. Like you get to the pros, like it's the same thing. Every year they're drafting somebody, like maybe they outperform you a little bit and they're a rookie, but you're like an 8-year
Mm-hmm.
vet. Like, what are you going to do to be able to stay there another year, start another year, get them to sign you for another 2 to 5 years or whatever it is? Like it's like that's the business and that's the game at the end of the day. And what sacrifices you want to make to be able to stay in that position, that's challenging. But yeah, like you said, keeping yourself at the top of your game as much as possible so that hopefully you can have the opportunity to be in that spot week after week, year after year. Who would you who would you attribute a lot of your mental skill development from?
My mental skill development. I'm not gonna lie, probably Wrangles and you. Those APD sessions did a lot for me. Just being in there with Wrangles and um, Coach Goose as well, Coach as well. Rest in peace, Coach Goose. But all of you, like those APD sessions, like I really took those to heart and I understood like these are here to help me. This is what got Evan Neal to Alabama. This is what got Nolan Smith to Georgia. This is what got Noah Kane to Penn State. So like just seeing all the guys that came before me and I was so bought into everything that IMG has to offer, and just really paying attention to Wrangles and what he was talking about as far as controlling your mind and not letting your mind control you, and really training your mind as you train your body. So that was very crucial for me. And I remember when we did visualization one day, I think it was going into my junior year. And after that, after I did that one time, I do it every game. I do it before most practices. And it's just so crucial because we watched the video of a Seattle Seahawks wide receiver. I forget which one it was, but he said he visualized and he went through a whole practice in his head without really
Having to do it.
exactly without really having to do it. I was like, man, let me try this. And I remember I tried it every game for my junior year, and I was just straight up dominant. And then I do it every game from here on out. Every game, every practice, I do it all the time just because it mentally prepares me for what I'll see.
Yeah. And that's, I think all those components are all pieces of the puzzle, right? We're that goal while I was there. And I think any staff, I mean, you could probably attest to where you're at now. Like, I think everybody's goal is collectively to work together to hopefully provide the athletes that 360 degrees of care. So you have all those skills or tools in your toolbox that you can use at your disposal, right? Not everyone's going to use every single thing every single person provides to them, but it comes down to, like you said, obviously visualization, taking naps, meditation, right? Like that specifically works for you. The offensive lineman next to you or the teammate next to you, they may not want to do all those things, or they may not work best for them. And they may have another set of 2 or 3 tools that they use that works best for them. It's just putting yourself in the position to figure out, like, what do I have? What works for me? And is that putting me in the best possible place or position every time that I walk out and have to perform and give my 110, 120% every single time?
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak a little bit about, let's say, the nutrition end? Athlete, you're being around athletes for 7 to 8 years. You have guys that are locked in, see the importance of sleeping, hydrating, and fueling. You have other athletes that they're still kind of doing the same habits and stuff they've been doing their entire life. Living on fast food and getting 5 hours of sleep and going into practice dehydrated sometimes. Just speak about what your thoughts on how you feel nutrition is important, or maybe how you implement your own fueling and hydration, and how that's made an impact on how you perform on a daily basis.
Man, nutrition is so important, and you can just feel the difference of when you fueled properly and improperly. So I'm always big on getting breakfast, getting lunch, eating before whatever I do. Even when I lift, I keep some protein bars in my room so I can eat one on the way out because I want to have at least something on my stomach before I go lift at 6:30. But just even before practice, I feel like that's when it's the most crucial to eat. You have to find the right time to eat. So that's something I had to figure out, and I really didn't figure out until the second week of spring ball this year because my schedule changed a little bit. So I got out of school a little bit earlier. So I would go straight to the facility, eat, do my whole routine. But by the time practice rolls around, we're in meetings for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. By the time practice rolls around, I hadn't eaten in 4.5 hours. So I get halfway through practice and I feel my stomach. I get a little tired, and that's when I need some of the energy chews that the training staff will give us. They'll give us some crackers, and I'm very appreciative of them for being there. But just fueling properly is very important, and then knowing when and how much to fuel your body. So like, if you know you got a night game and you're not a big eater on the day of the game, you got to eat heavy the night before. You got to eat a big breakfast and just things like that and things of that nature. And if you're not a big eater before the game, just wake up earlier. But I feel like you have to eat before the game. You got to eat before the game. You got to eat before practice. And then as far as hydration goes, you should always be drinking some water. Always, always, always. And my routine, I have a hydration routine before practice. I drink. I don't know if you guys have these, but bananas. I drink a banana, a right stuff, and Pedialyte all before practice, and then I'm good. I'm good. I haven't had any problems. But I had to create that. I had to create that routine through trial and error. I remember the Ole Miss game. I started cramping a lot, so I had to figure out what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So after that game, that's when I implemented that routine before everything I did as far as practicing games.
And
Just always staying hydrated.
that's the difference right there. I think the 2 words you said, I mean, I preach all the time: schedule and routine. What's your schedule? Are you on top of looking at your schedule in the system. For example, like we have teamworks. So always telling guys, make sure you're looking at your teamworks all throughout the day, every single day, because you never know when something might change. So you got to be able to be flexible. Stuff can happen out of the blue. But if you at least know your general schedule, then that's where you're fitting the puzzle pieces in between those things, right? Like if I know classes are here, lift is here, practice is here. All right, well, how am I going to fit in my meals? How am I going to fit in my snacks? Right? You had a couple
Mm-hmm.
issues during a game or a couple issues during, like you said, my energy was low because I didn't eat some for 4 hours. I had cramping issues in one game. I don't want that to happen again. So sometimes what some athletes would do is just like, it's whatever, it won't happen again. But in your situation, your thought process was, well, I don't want that to repeat. So what tools do I have that I can apply to put into place because I have this knowledge, and how am I going to then correct and change that so it doesn't repeat? Because I'm sure you can attest to, right? If you're at practice, you're in a game, the last thing you want to do is have a cramp and get pulled out. The last thing you want to do is be an hour and 15 minutes into practice and only be able to get 50% because you don't have the energy to finish out the next, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes of practice. Because
And as
go ahead.
sorry, because you're, but as a Division One athlete, you have to have that mindset. Like, I can't afford to be taken out. I can't afford to miss this rep. That's what your mindset has to be. So in that Ole Miss game, when I was cramping, I was like, give me whatever. I got I hate getting IVs. I had to get an IV during halftime. I had to I was drinking a whole lot. I was like, whatever you got to give me, I'm not coming out of this game. Like, because that was a big opportunity for me. That's when one of the starters had went down, and I had to. So there was a rotation. So the two guys would start, the two starters would start, and after the first drive, I would rotate in that left, and then I would go to right, and then we would just keep that rotation going. So one of the starters went down in the second half, so I went to prove to them I could play the whole game, play the whole second half. My
Mm-hmm.
body wasn't used to playing the whole game because I would only play about 45, 50% of the game. So once that rep count increased, I had realized I had been hydrating properly for what I was going to do, what I thought I was going to do, not what I actually ended up doing. So then that also had to tell myself, like, be prepared to play the whole game.
And that's
You know.
interesting. The fact that I'm guessing you picked it up from probably sports science or strength and conditioning. A key thing you said there, and I've had to work on that with athletes before too, is you try to prepare the best you can for the week, and sometimes if you're not getting first team reps, right, your load that's getting put on your body or your tissues, right, if you're only getting a moderate level the whole week, and then all of a sudden like you went from 45 to 50% of the game, and now you go to 100% of the game, and your body wasn't ready for that during that week. And then now all of a sudden it gets heightened, the intensity and the load, right? It's just like, whoa, my body wasn't ready to adapt to that because my body wasn't in the position during the week to hit some of those, just because I wasn't expecting maybe to get as many snaps or stuff like that. So that's where that flexibility comes into play, and having to figure out like, all right, if I'm not going to get many reps, how do I still prepare myself and get that level of intensity? So regardless if I play 50 or 100%, my body's always going to be physically ready for whatever the demands of the game that's going to put on me.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak to just having a support staff as a whole and how that's important for maybe your teammates or yourself? Whether that's, I know you've spoken on nutrition, you've spoken on sports psychology, like, why is it important that athletes should listen to all the support staff that they have to put them in the best position as possible?
The amount of money schools invest in their support staff should show you why you should be using those resources. Like, money doesn't grow on trees as much as it seems like it at these Division One programs, or even a lot of high schools like IMG. Like, money doesn't grow on trees. So if they're allocating resources to get that kind of support staff, it's really important. You should use it. So just it's crucial. So if the people are there, use them. Like make them earn their check. That's what my mom always told me. Make them earn their check. Make, make them earn their check. Don't let them just sit there. So just use them as resources, because they're also going to be older than you. So it's just the wisdom that they can impart on you, and just going to build that relationship with them shows them that you care, and the word of your character gets out. Who knows, NFL teams, when they come visit, they might ask the support staff, "Oh, how was this guy?" Well, I
Yep.
never really had a relationship with him, or I have a negative relationship with him, or I have a positive relationship with him. All that stuff matters in the long run. So just go out of your way to build a relationship with the support staff and let them help you, because they want to. That's what they're there for.
And everybody always says, like, you never know who's going to come in the building and talk to any of the staff any given time. And I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard stories from guys that you've seen that, from your team that have gone to the next level. And, some of these recruiting staff and individuals will go to the longest length, high school, grandma, whoever it is. So, like, what's some facts on this guy? Like, is this guy a legitimate, like, all around good human being? And he's going to provide a good presence to our team and he's going to be a team player, or it's like there's some tough questions they're going to have to ask him because he made some decisions that weren't ideal. And you look at social media too, people are going back 3, 4, 5, 6 years in social media and basing guys' characters off of a comment that may have meant nothing, or they didn't mean something by it, or they have probably grown and developed from maybe that stupid comment that happens. But I'm sure you can say, like, you got to be ready for anything that comes at you that they may ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I always used to say, you probably remember this, but like, I want to work myself out of a job, right? Like, I want to get you as an athlete to a point where I don't have to get 1,000 texts from you all the time. Like, I don't have to keep telling you the same thing over and over. Like, you should be at the point that I've given you these tools and skills that you can take them. An obstacle comes your way, you know what to do, you know how to fix it, and you're right back on track. Versus if you're not utilizing those resources, you keep running the same problem, then you're just in this loop and you're not doing anything to figure it out. And then you're just in this continuous loop, having the same issues, problems, concerns, and then you're not getting the most out of what you could be doing on the field at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Any final words you'd like to give or express to whether it's support staff, whether it's athletes, even specific football players listening to this, that you would want them to take away that you feel like could be helpful for them to hear, whether it's now because they're in college, whether there's a high school athlete, maybe you've seen a middle school athlete, what kind of words of wisdom could you give them that they should be trying to start doing now, if possible?
Prepare like you're like the game is tomorrow. Start preparing like you're the day one starter. That's gonna help you achieve all of the goals that you have set out. And you find an older person, you find a starter, you just stay in their back pocket. You do everything that they do because obviously they've done things the right way enough to be considered by the coach a starter and a leader on the team in order to be out there and start. For me at IMG, it was Jordan Butler. I stayed in Jordan. I followed JB around, and he was a great mentor for me, and he showed me what it was like to be at IMG. So just find that one person, stay in their back pocket, and learn from them. Learn, and then just on top of that, just take everything one day at a time. Not everything is gonna change overnight, but take it one day at a time. Get better each day. Win every day. That's all
Yeah.
I had.
And a couple points from there is, progress doesn't just look like this. It's not just a straight line going straight up. Like, you're going to have days where it's this, it's going to drop down and then go up and then go down. As long as it's getting to the point you want to, like, that's the goal, but you're going to have some roadblocks that are going to pop up in between there. And progress
Sure.
isn't always sexy and isn't always going to be, getting from point A to point B in a couple weeks to a month. Sometimes it could take years to get to that point. And it's like, are you okay physically and mentally with that process and for that to happen? And, to speak a little bit about a story with Jordan Butler, two big things he did when I was there. One was, I'm not going to honestly put his name out there, but we had an athlete that he was good friends with that was having a really challenging time with his fueling. And, he didn't want to talk to me, right? Like, didn't really want to change, was in this kind of like same loop, doing the same thing like over and over and over. And, Jordan like physically walked him, I remember, to my office and sat him down in the office with me. Again, this is someone who's like 17, 18 years old doing this for another teammate, which goes to show you what type of person he was. And he's like, you need to get help from him. Because if you don't get help, he's like, I can't count on you as a teammate. He's like, you're not going to be able to hit the goal that you just keep talking about what you want to do. Like, it is not going to be fun what we have to do and the changes you're going to have to make. But like, if you listen to him or you listen to the staff that's here, like, we're going to put you in a better position. And there was times where he even would come, like, I would talk with this athlete and he would even come and sit with him to hold him accountable to make sure he came, which was crazy to me. I'm like, man, this guy's doing this at 17, 18-year-old, bringing his own teammate and keeping him accountable. And then he was the same way, right? There was a point in time
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to hit a certain goal. I can't remember if it was his junior or senior year. And he must have came in every day at times. Sean, I want to sit down and talk about this. Sean, I want to sit and talk about that. Sean, can we write this up on the board? Hey, do you think this is a good idea to tweak this? And if I couldn't meet in person, it was a text message or it was a FaceTime, it was a phone call, whatever it was. But like, he was like truly dedicated to get to that point and valued the staff and the presence that we had there to be able to get to that. So as soon as you said his name, I was like, yeah, he was another type of cat that knew from a really young age what it took. And he was also a really good leader, being able to help his teammates off the field and on the field as well. But really appreciate you coming on. I know you're probably a really busy guy.
Sorry, I was just declining call.
Oh, no problem. Where can people follow you? Your social media, or if you have anything else other besides that?
So my Instagram is tbook._. And my Twitter is I am Tyler Booker. And then my Facebook, if you just type in Tyler Booker, it's the same thing.
Awesome. Anybody that wants to watch any more episodes of this podcast or any of the other resources that I can provide to you as an athlete or practitioner, all my digital links will be in the bio that you can click on and access that on my Linktree link. Super excited to get this out. And Book, as always, keep working hard. Super proud of you. Love the process that you're going through right now, and excited to continue to watch and see how that progresses from here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Sean.
All right, I'll see you later.
Have a good one. Bye.